keep Claressa Shields' name out y'all motherfucking mouth. You bitches can't fight like me. Y'all can't squabble. You can't squabble like the Grow. Bitch, you can't squabble like the Grow.
It all started like any other regular day online. Nothing felt unusual at first. People were scrolling, reacting to posts, and talking about the usual topics. Papoose was being mentioned in conversations about hip-hop, respect, and his legacy, just like always. At the same time, Claressa Shields was staying active in her space, focused on boxing, confidence, and keeping her name relevant in the sport. Everything seemed normal on the surface. But then something shifted. First, it was small. So small that most people didn't even notice it right away. A few comments here and there started to feel different. The tone wasn't what fans were used to. The replies coming from Papoose's account sounded sharper, more aggressive, and more personal than usual. People who had followed him for years started to pause and look twice. Something didn't feel right. In the beginning, many brushed it off. Maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe someone else was managing the account. These things happen all the time, especially with public figures. But then the posts kept coming, and instead of calming down, the energy got stronger. That's when people really started paying attention. The comments weren't just different, they felt intense. The language didn't match the calm and composed personality that many associated with Papoose. Fans began asking questions, and one question in particular started spreading fast across social media. Is this really him? First, it sounded like a stretch. But the more people looked at the situation, the more that question didn't seem so crazy anymore. The tone, the wording, the emotional edge, it all felt off. And then another theory started circulating, one that quickly became the center of attention. Some people began to wonder if Claressa Shields was behind those posts. There was no proof, no confirmation, just a feeling people couldn't shake. But on the internet, once an idea like that starts gaining traction, it doesn't take long before it turns into a full-blown conversation. Screenshots started spreading. People reposted comments, analyzed the wording, and compared it to older posts. It turned into something bigger than just a few unusual replies. Now it was about identity, control, and perception. Who was actually behind the screen? And why did it feel so different? As the discussion grew, it didn't stay limited to social media behavior. People started connecting it to everything else they already knew, or thought they knew about Papoose and Claressa. Their relationship had already been talked about before, but now it was being viewed from a completely new angle. This wasn't just about two public figures anymore. It became a conversation about influence, about how relationships can shape public behavior, about how quickly things can spiral when private life starts blending into public space. Some people defended the situation. They argued that the internet tends to overreact, and that tone alone isn't enough to draw conclusions. Others weren't convinced. They pointed to the timing, the emotional intensity, and the shift in language as signs that something deeper was going on. There were no clear answers. But that didn't stop the conversation. At the same time, another layer of tension was building in the background. Claressa was already involved in public exchanges with other figures in the boxing world. There had been ongoing tension, especially with Alicia Baumgartner. Fans were already watching that situation closely, expecting it to stay focused on competition inside the ring. But instead of attention being on training, fights, and performance, it started shifting toward online arguments and back-and-forth exchanges. People began asking a simple question. Why was so much energy being spent online? That question kept coming up again and again. It wasn't just hardcore boxing fans anymore. Even people who didn't usually follow the sport started noticing the drama. And once that happens, the story changes. It stops being about skill, discipline, and competition, and starts becoming about personality, conflict, and entertainment. Memes started appearing. Some people joked about the situation while others criticized it. A few said the whole thing was unnecessary and could have been handled privately. Others felt it was distracting from serious careers and accomplishments. And in the middle of all that noise, the original focus kept fading. Then the conversation shifted again. This time it was about reputation. Papoose had always been seen as someone who built his name on respect and consistency. Even people who didn't follow his music closely still associated him with authenticity. But now, with all this public attention surrounding him, people started questioning whether that image was changing. At the same time, Claressa Shields, who had built a strong reputation in boxing through hard work and achievements, was being pulled into conversations that had nothing to do with her performance in the ring. Instead of headlines about fights, titles, and training, the focus was shifting toward personal matters and online behavior. That's when things started to feel bigger.
Who had a fight last week?
It wasn't just drama anymore.
Me?
It felt like a shift in narrative. As more posts circulated, people began bringing up money, lifestyle, and independence. Comments were analyzed in ways that went far beyond what was actually said. Some believed the situation was about financial independence. Others thought it had to do with control or messaging. Nothing was confirmed, but that didn't stop people from forming opinions. And once money enters the conversation, everything becomes more complicated. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about relationships anymore. They were breaking down lifestyles, questioning decisions, and trying to connect dots that may or may not have been related. The story became layered with speculation, and at the center of it all was still the same unanswered question: what actually happened with those posts? No one could say for sure, but the uncertainty itself kept the story alive. Because sometimes what keeps people talking isn't the truth, it's the absence of it. As time went on, the impact became clearer. Attention had shifted. Instead of focusing on music releases or boxing achievements, most of the conversation was now centered around this ongoing situation. And in industries like entertainment and sports, attention is everything. Once it moves away from accomplishments and toward controversy, it's hard to bring it back. The second wave of attention hit even harder than the first. People started digging into older posts. They revisited past interactions, looking for clues. Even harmless moments were reinterpreted as signs of something deeper. Every comment became a piece of evidence. Every silence raised suspicion. People began analyzing past moments between Papoose and Claressa, trying to figure out if there were signs they had missed before. Some saw support and connection. Others thought they noticed distance that hadn't been obvious at the time. At that point, facts mattered less than perception. Meanwhile, Claressa's boxing career continued in the background. Training didn't stop. The sport didn't pause. But online, her life had turned into a storyline. And the more people talked about it, the more intense it became. Another layer started forming around control and influence. People questioned whether what they were seeing was intentional, or simply emotional reactions playing out in public. Was it planned? Or was it chaos amplified by attention? No one knew, but everyone had an opinion. As emotions grew stronger, the identities of the people involved started to blur. A respected rapper and a world-class boxer slowly became characters in an ongoing online narrative. Achievements started getting buried under constant noise. The speed of social media made everything feel more intense. One post could change the entire direction of the conversation. One comment could spark a new theory. And soon the focus wasn't even on what happened anymore. It was on why people believed different versions so strongly. For Claressa Shields, some supporters began expressing concern about focus. They wanted her attention to stay on boxing, on training, and on building her legacy. They felt that the outside noise was pulling attention away from what really mattered. For Papoose, the conversation centered around perception. People who had respected him for years started wondering how this situation might affect the way he's seen moving forward. Not because of confirmed actions, but because public narratives can shape how people remember things, even when the details are unclear. And that's really what this whole situation showed. It wasn't just about one moment or one post. It was about how quickly stories can form, grow, and take over everything else. In a world where attention moves faster than facts, perception often becomes louder than reality. In the end, there's still no clear answer. The speculation continues. The discussions haven't stopped. People are still debating what really happened and what didn't. But one thing is certain. Once a story like this enters the public space, it no longer belongs to the people involved. It belongs to the audience. And when that happens, every action gets analyzed, every word gets questioned, and every silence gets filled with meaning. That's why stories like this don't just fade away. They evolve. And they stay.